some of the folks from the winning team, and that's the crew chief, Paul Wolfe, and vice chairman of Team Penske, Walt Czarnecki. Congratulations to you both. Big win today, all the way around for Team Penske, finishing 1-2, and then the 21 having a great run for Wood Brothers. I'm going to ask you first, Paul, and Walt and I were talking about it briefly. Last week, probably didn't get out of the box like you wanted to at Atlanta, but certainly you turned things around here today at Las Vegas. Talk about how that happened.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, heading into Atlanta last week, there was high hopes as we were very strong with this package, the low downforce package in 2015, the couple opportunities we had to run it. So when we unloaded at Atlanta and didn't have, quite the speed we were hoping for, that was a little frustrating. We worked hard, didn't qualify where we needed to be, got our cars better for the race, but still not where they needed to be contend for wins. So from there, I think there was a few late nights back at Team Penske where, guys worked really hard. We felt like we needed more potential out of our cars, and we worked very hard on some aero pieces and, some different things. And felt like when we unloaded here at Vegas this week, we kind of showed that all that hard work paid off in qualifying and having both cars up front. And as we translated into the race today, we showed the strength in race trims. So really all I can say is hats off for all the hard work back at the shop. There was a lot put in, and this West Coast swing is very hard on the teams early in the season, but we were able to bring better race cars to the racetrack, and we got the results because of it.
Congratulations, and Walt, certainly a big day for Team Penske. I got that chase berth locked up now for the 2 car, and the 22 certainly with a great run, and as we talked about the 21 certainly from the Wood Brothers. But just talk about what this means for the organization this early in the season.
Well, thank you, Kerry. Just to a little reprise on what Paul said. I think this really took a little bit of the sting out of what happened at Atlanta. We thought we had 2 pretty good cars at Atlanta, didn't perform, ended up with a decent finish. But as Paul said, we had a team debrief meeting, I guess it was on Tuesday, that went for about an hour and a half, that was thorough and candid. And so Paul and Todd Gordon were pretty confident they were going to come to Las Vegas with 2 good cars. Specifically, both cars, I think, showed great long-run speed. And I think it demonstrated that, the way we finished. Certainly you hope, from my perspective, to have a 1-2 finish anytime. I wasn't quite expecting it because the level of competition out here, frankly, was pretty stout. And the typical suspects, the 48, the 4, the 18, the 41 for sure, and then they all got caught up in that wreck. So this wasn't a laydown kind of a win. So to answer your specific question, Kerry, this is huge for the team. Being in the chase right now for Brad takes a lot of that pressure off, as we know, and it really allows Joey then to really focus on getting that win. I think that even from a point standpoint, he's still in good shape, but we want to get those wins. So we know that we're capable. We know that Team Penske is capable of running with anybody right now and being competitive.
Absolutely, especially after today. We'll go to the press box right now. We'll start. Excuse me, I believe Reed Spencer has a question. Go ahead.
Yes, Reed Spencer with NASCAR Wire Service. I've got a question for Paul. When you guys came in and opted to sacrifice track position for 4 tires on lap 199, were you already thinking ahead to the point that you might do the stay out on the next caution?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, once we lose your track position, I think the 2-tire strategy works well if you can get the clean air, and get out in the lead. And obviously, the 48 was able to do that early in the race when he did that. But, the way I look at it is if you're going to do 2 tires, you got to get that clean air. Otherwise, we'll take 4 all day long. And it gives you opportunities at the end to do some different strategies to get that track position back. And obviously, we knew when the caution fell there, we were still short on fuel, but at that point it was worth the risk to take the gamble and hope for the cautions, and obviously we got those, and we're able to get to victory lane.
Bob Pockris, go ahead.
Bob Hockross, ESPN. For Paul, what's Brad Keselowski like when he's on a 33-race winless streak and his teammate has won 5 times during it?
Well, I mean, I think it talks about the whole team and how strong we are and how we continue to push. And, we had to overcome adversity today, obviously, and I think Brad and this team showed in the past that there's no one I think that's any better at that. And, getting that speeding penalty early on, obviously wasn't ideal, but, no one gave up. And Brad obviously continued to push hard and show the strength of the car. And a couple breaks there at the end with the cautions, we were able to have enough fuel and ultimately show how good the car really was there at the end as we were able to get away from the 48 and then get by the 18.
We're going to hear from our race winner right now, Brad Keselowski, the driver of the number 2 Miller Lite Ford for Team Penske. This is his 18th career NASCAR Sprint Cup Series victory. His first win in 2016. It gets him a spot in the 2016 chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. His second win here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Brad, congratulations on this win here today. And just talk about how this team has improved leaps and bounds since Atlanta. And then also talk a little bit about those conditions out there today. Those were not the typical weather conditions that we see, but you guys put on a super show.
Well, first off, thank you, Commander. We're glad to be back in Victory Lane. It's hard to believe it's been 34 races, but we've led a lot of races in that time span. Probably deserve to win a few more races than that. But, that's just kind of how racing goes sometimes. But yes, of course, thrilled to be back in Victory Lane, thrilled to be locked into the chase so early in the season, which is a tremendous feeling for our team, and one that we are, of course, very thankful for. But, Team Penske 50th anniversary, this is the first win of the year, so that feels really good. And for our team, I think we've seen such a major turnaround in a couple of key areas, essentially the pit crew especially. And for my guys, there's on pit road, there's nobody I would trade for right now. They're the hottest group on pit road, and a large part of our success this week and helped to keep us strong last week as well in Atlanta. But and then, of course, Paul and the team made some major adjustments and gains on the car in the 1 week that we had between Atlanta and traveling back and forth. So all that stuff paid off and is a big part of being in Victory Lane here today. Had to fight for it. It certainly wasn't an easy race with, like you said, the weather. I didn't think the weather was as big of a challenge as I thought it was going to be specific to the wind. You could feel it, but it didn't put us in anything that I thought was too risque. But I did feel like the speeding penalty early or middle to late part of the race was certainly very, very detrimental. But Paul and the team, they got us in a spot where we could have enough speed and strategy to get back in it. Got that long run at the end. We knew we had a lot of long run speed, and sure enough, we were able to hold off the 48, who was really, really fast on his own. And then next thing I knew, we were closing in our teammate. Took a long time to get by Joey. He put up a heck of a fight. If anyone ever wants to say that your teammates just lay over and give it to you, that's not how we are at Team Penske. We race each other hard but clean, and that was really something to see and be a part of. And then, of course, there the very end, being able to pass Kyle and get the win. I know the local media is probably not very thrilled about that, but he did pass me to win the championship last year on the last race, so maybe some trade-offs there. But a lot of things going on there, and it's good. It's good to be back. The new rules package today, I thought was tremendous. I think you saw, because of the rules package, where the cars fell off a lot at the end of the run, and you really had to drive them sideways. Took a lot of balance as a driver, a lot of precise footwork and accuracy with where you put your car and how you place it. Which is exactly what we want. This shouldn't be easy. This is the Sprint Cup Series. These cars should be very hard to drive, and at the end of the run, they were a challenge, and it's nice to be a part of that. Now, the next piece to go with that is somehow trying to convince NASCAR to do one more step, and I think the racing will just get even better, like we saw today. But I think that's kind of the highlights of how I felt about the day. It was a little bit long, but
It's a pretty good synopsis, Brad. Very, very good synopsis. We'll start here now. Jeff Gluck had a question. We'll start with Jeff, then we'll go to Tom.
Jeff Gluck from USA Today Sports. Brad, if you just looked at the stat sheet, you'd say, oh, wow, Penske goes 1-2. Their mile-and-a-half program must be the best right now. They're dominant. But really, a lot of people had a chance to win today. Jimmy, some of the Gibbs cars. So where do you think that your intermediate track program stacks up right now?
I'm not particularly sure. I thought the 20 car looked really strong. I thought he was going to win when he got the lead there with 60 to go, I think it was. And the 48 car, he was fast all day, but we seemed to be able to hang on and work with him, and that was good. Joey got to the lead a couple times, and I thought he was going to be, not passable. And then 18, when he made the move to get the lead, I thought, oh, God, we're racing for second right here. And then he fell off at the end. I think that there's a lot of variables to that question, and probably the biggest variable will be the tire compounds week to week. I think you're going to see some tire compounds that are easier to drive and some that are harder to drive, and it'll be hard to pick one team out as being a favorite, but certainly the performance we showed today with finishing 1-2 with Team Penske shows that when we get things right, we can be one of the dominant teams.
Let's go to Tom right there in the middle, and then we'll come over here to Tom Jensen, and then
But not by a long ways, Jeff. Yeah.
then to Dominic.
Tom Zaleski, Iron County Today. Hi, for Brad or Paul, either one of you, at what could you afford to deal with trying to get by Joey and for at least a couple more laps because it took a long enough time, and I'm sitting here thinking 5-6 to go was maybe the time you could afford it as fast as you guys were. What was the feeling like on the radio and in the car?
Yeah, obviously it was, as Brad said, it was tough. It was a challenge. Initially, the 18 was able to drive away because he had the clean air, but we got partway in that run, and I remember coming over the radio telling Brad that even though we were racing Joey real hard, both of us were catching the 18 and starting to put a little distance on the 48. So at that point, I knew there was hope, and I could tell we were a little bit better than Joey as we got longer into the run, and once we were able to clear him, I felt like we were going to have a shot at it, and sure enough, once we cleared Joey, we gained a lot of speed, and at that point, listening to Kyle, he'd pretty much used up what he had, and can't say it was probably much of a fight getting by him, and we're able to get by him and then take care of our fuel to finish it out.
Go to Tom Jensen, and then to Bob Pockris.
Hey, Brad, Tom Jensen, FoxSports.com. Congratulations on the victory. We have seen you in the role of the hunter and the hunted. When did you know you had Kyle, and what's it like, the feeling when you're the second guy in the fast car as opposed to being the first guy in the slow car?
It's a great feeling, Tom. One of the best feelings. It's the feeling I live for. It's a feeling I dream about quite often, is being the fastest guy and having opportunity. And we had the opportunity to win the race. And I knew when I was watching, as soon as I passed Joey, I focused in on 18, and I watched him for one lap. And when I saw his car and the way it was sliding and taking a set and the line that he was running, I knew after that first lap that we could win the race. And after the second lap, and I gained a big chunk on him, I thought, well, he's either saving fuel and tire, or I'm going to pass him immediately. And, of course, that's what ended up happening. We passed him, I think, in 2 or 3 laps. So it's one of the best feelings in the world, I can tell you that. Thank you.
Go ahead, Bob.
Bob Pockris, ESPN. Brad, how frustrating is it to go 33 races without a win when your teammate is winning? Joey Meyer told me you've been ornery over this.
I've been ornery, yeah. Well, he has too. Yeah.
So can you talk about that? And then also, did you think you maybe had thrown it away with the speeding penalty?
Yeah, I definitely didn't feel good after the speeding penalty. I certainly didn't improve our chances. The Las Vegas line probably went down. Been a good time to put a bet on it, but as far as not winning and your teammate wins a lot of races, I've been on both sides of that. It's not an easy question to answer. If it was, both of us would have been winning. But there were a lot of pieces in play. There was a lot of misfortune, and then there was a lot of self-inflicted things that I could have done better and beyond. I can't sit here and dwell on that. At the end of the day, in the last 4 seasons, the 2 team has won the most races 2 of the last 4 years. So I think you can focus on the negative of last year not winning as many races as we wanted to, but there's plenty of positives to go around, and it's my goal to make that 3 out of the last 5 years where we've won the most races. And I think in any professional sport, a stat like that's a pretty good one. So I'm gonna try to focus on that one.
Dominic, right here, to your left.
Dominic Ottago on the RacingExperts.com for both Paul and Brad. Since you guys have now won early in the regular season, how much does this win open up the playbook for strategy?
You want me to answer that first? It's huge. I mean, it's, last year we were able to get the win in Fontana, and now here we are even earlier than that. It just allows us the opportunity to continue to maybe try new things and develop our cars to be as strong as we can when the chase starts. So whether it's, some different things we do on race day as well, obviously the strategy piece with not having to worry about points anymore. We may try some different things there, as well as, like I said, try maybe different setups or different, explore a little bit that, if you didn't have the win, you would have to focus a little more on being consistent and having those good finishes to make sure you take care of the point side of it.
Let's go to the press box. We have a question. Go ahead.
Chris Knight, CatchFans.com. Congratulations to you guys on the win. Brad, last weekend in Atlanta, a lot of the drivers were exhausted, but yet happy and confident in the aerodynamics package. How would you rate it this weekend in Las Vegas and looking ahead to Phoenix and California?
Yeah, like I said earlier, I thought it was great. The cars probably had a little bit too much grip and lack of throttle response early in the run, but late in the run they seemed to settle out very nicely to sliding around and allowing various talents to fall in line. So I thought that was a really good balance. The challenge is for NASCAR that, we've got all these race teams are spending millions of dollars to develop the aerodynamics on the cars because there's such a competitive advantage to finding more downforce, finding more side force, reducing the drag on the cars. And it'll only take us about half a year to a year's time to where we remove all the benefits that this package has given the racing to showcase a day like we saw today with a lot of passing for the lead. So, I think the challenge for NASCAR is to just continue to stay ahead of that with segments and changes, knowing that the teams will continue to develop. There's a lot of different interests, of course, in this sport, and the interest of the teams is to be the fastest. And quite frankly, when we have the fastest car, we just want to be fast. We don't care if it makes the racing great or bad. But as far as the downforce package is concerned, we got to continue to stay ahead of that as a sport to continue to have great finishes to races like we saw today, and quite a few passes for the lead. I think that's what we all have come to expect of this mile-and-a-half racing, and I think that's what we saw, which is something to be proud of.
Got time for 2 more questions. We'll go with Taylor and then Holly.
Taylor Starr. Hello. Taylor Starr, NASCAR.com. Brad, with Penske finishing 1-2 and Blaney in the Wood Brothers car finishing 6th, we know you have the technical alliance, but is there any sort of mentoring you're doing for him or to have him see success on the track?
Yeah, he drove my truck for a while, so there was a lot of mentoring there, mostly of the form of please don't wreck it, I can't afford to fix it. But now Taylor, I think he's got the right people around him with Jeremy Bowens and the Wood Brothers, and a lot of help and support there, and certainly willing to help him wherever I can. But he's in a good spot. I don't think he needs me. He just needs some time.
Right answer. Final question, Holly.
Holly Kay, NASCAR.com. You alluded to this, but it is a big deal, the 50th anniversary of the organization, and to have a win in it and have it be, so relevant 50 years later, what Penske is doing. Could you just talk a little bit about that and getting the first win of that?
Well, the 50th is certainly something that's very special to all of us at Team Penske, and to get that first win of it feels good, but the 50 years is a lot bigger than me. And I think as we move forward, it is very amazing for any team to be relevant, in 50 years or stay relevant in 50 years. There's a lot of other sports where there's teams that have been good for 50 years, like the Yankees and so forth, but with significant ownership changes. And obviously, Team Penske that hasn't had that. So that dynamic, I think, just showcases Roger's own strengths and his ability to put us in a great spot, to have the resources to be successful. And we had that today, and it showed off. So, Walt, you should speak. You got better stuff to say than I did. Walt's been there for, almost every one of the 50.
I've been here for 46 of the 50.
46 of the 50, yeah.
So I've seen a lot of them. This was one of the better ones, Holly. I mean, the conditions, the drama, the excitement. As I said before, I knew we had a couple of good cars. I will tell you one thing. I've been listening to Brad's comments, but from my perspective, watching Brad and Joey race each other, I had absolute confidence in both of them. I really did. Absolutely. We don't have team orders. You touched on it. We don't have team orders. And it's really kind of ironic because this morning Joey and I were talking about team orders. And somehow the topic came up. And sure enough, later in the day, we were in a situation where both guys were racing each other. But I assure everybody in this room had absolute confidence in both of these guys because we are a team. It's a Team Penske win.
Congratulations. It certainly was a great win for Team Penske, and we wish you all the best of luck the rest of the season. We'll see you all at Phoenix. Please pass on our congratulations to Roger as well.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.